In the year 544 BC, a Chinese general named Sun Tzu wrote 13 chapters that would change the nature of conflict forever. His most famous line, "All warfare is based on deception." But this isn't just about ancient battles. From the beaches of Normandy to the boardrooms of Silicon Valley, from the playing fields of the Super Bowl to the negotiation tables of international diplomacy, deception remains the invisible force that shapes our world. Sun Tzu lived during China's Spring and Autumn period, an era of constant warfare between competing kingdoms. Born into chaos, he understood that survival required more than just strength. Sun Tzu wasn't just a general, he was a philosopher. He saw warfare as a puzzle to be solved, not just a contest of force. His genius was recognizing that the mind was the ultimate battlefield. The Art of War consists of 13 chapters, but Chapter 1 contains the essence. All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. But what did he mean by deception? This wasn't about lying. It was about strategic misdirection, making your opponent make decisions based on incomplete or false information. Deception works because of fundamental flaws in human cognition. We make assumptions, we see patterns that aren't there, and we're overconfident in our ability to read situations. Sun Tzu understood this 2,500 years before modern psychology. Modern neuroscience confirms what Sun Tzu intuited. Our brains are pattern recognition machines, constantly filling in gaps with assumptions. A skilled strategist can exploit these cognitive shortcuts. Consider a magician. They don't have supernatural powers, they understand misdirection. While you're watching their right hand, their left hand is executing the trick. The same principle applies to warfare. The Trojan horse is perhaps history's most famous deception. The Greeks didn't overpower Troy's walls, they convinced the Trojans to open the gates themselves. Classic Sun Tzu, the supreme excellence is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Sun Tzu's principles weren't theoretical. Ancient generals used deception as routinely as swords and shields. Hannibal's crossing of the Alps in 218 BC wasn't just brave, it was deceptive. The Romans expected him to attack by sea or through familiar mountain passes. By choosing the impossible route, he achieved complete surprise. Ancient warfare was as much about psychology as physics. Armies would collapse not because they were overpowered, but because they believed they were beaten. Deception was the tool that created that belief. World War II elevated deception to an art form. Both sides understood that information was as valuable as ammunition. Operation Fortitude may be history's greatest deception. The Allies created an entire phantom army. Fake tanks, fake radio chatter, fake buildings, all to convince Hitler that D-Day would happen at Calais, not Normandy. They built inflatable Sherman tanks. They had actors playing generals. They even used double agents to feed false information to the Germans. It was like Hollywood, but the stakes were civilization itself. Meanwhile, at Bletchley Park, British code breakers had cracked the German Enigma code. But here's the twist. They couldn't use all the intelligence, because that would reveal they had broken the code. Sometimes, they had to let attacks succeed to maintain the deception. The Pacific Theater had its own deceptions. Admiral Nimitz used broken Japanese codes to set the trap at Midway. The Japanese thought they were hunting the American fleet. In reality, they were walking into an ambush. The Cold War was Sun Tzu's principles taken to their logical extreme. A 40-year conflict fought almost entirely through deception, without a single direct battle between superpowers. The Cold War was psychological warfare on a global scale. Both sides were constantly trying to appear stronger than they were, to convince the other side that resistance was futile. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, both Kennedy and Khrushchev were engaged in elaborate deceptions. Kennedy appeared calm and in control publicly while privately fearing nuclear war. Khrushchev pretended the missiles were defensive while planning offensive capabilities. Technology changed the game. Spy satellites and reconnaissance aircraft made some traditional deceptions impossible, but they also created new opportunities for misinformation. Today's battlefield isn't just physical, it's digital. Social media, cyber attacks, and information warfare have created new frontiers for deception. In the 21st century, you can defeat an enemy without firing a shot. You can destabilize their society, undermine their institutions, and turn their own citizens against their government, all through information operations. Russian operations in Ukraine, election interference, and social media manipulation represent Sun Tzu's principles adapted for the digital age. The goal isn't to win battles, it's to create chaos and confusion in the enemy's decision-making process. Sun Tzu's principles didn't stay on the battlefield. They migrated to boardrooms, where companies wage war for market share, talent, and resources. Tech companies routinely use misdirection, surprise, and psychological pressure to defeat competitors. Steve Jobs was a master of strategic deception. Apple's secretive product development, surprise announcements, and misdirection campaigns weren't just marketing. They were warfare tactics adapted for business. Professional poker players are applied Sun Tzu practitioners. They win not by having the best cards, but by making opponents believe they have the best cards, or that they don't. Sun Tzu's principles raise profound ethical questions. If all warfare is based on deception, what does that mean for truth, trust, and human society? There's a difference between strategic deception in legitimate conflict and lying for personal gain. The context matters. The stakes matter. The alternatives matter. Modern warfare has rules, the Geneva Conventions, international law, codes of conduct. But deception remains legal and necessary. The challenge is distinguishing between legitimate military deception and war crimes. Artificial intelligence, deepfake technology, and virtual reality are creating new possibilities for deception that Sun Tzu could never have imagined. AI can generate fake videos, fake voices, fake documents that are indistinguishable from reality. The future of deception isn't just about misleading human perception. It's about overwhelming our ability to distinguish truth from fiction. Sun Tzu wrote that all warfare is based on deception in a world of bronze swords and horse-drawn chariots. Today, we wage war with satellites and software, but the fundamental truth remains. The most powerful weapon is the one that convinces your opponent not to fight at all. In our interconnected, information-saturated world, Sun Tzu's ancient wisdom has never been more relevant. The question isn't whether deception will shape our future, it's whether we'll be wise enough to understand when we're being deceived.